Only because you allowed it has your entire life been filled with don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. You're allowed to do this, but you're not allowed to do that. You can go there, but you're not allowed to go there. You can do that over there, but you're not allowed to do what you're doing over there over here. Now you have to get back here at a certain time, and then you're going to be back over there at a certain time. Like a job. If it's a job that you have to go to, they tell you when you can eat lunch and when you're done, when you're allowed to go to the bathroom, when you have to be at work, when you're allowed to leave, and all of these rules that you're supposed to follow while you're at work. It's the same at school. You're allowed to do this, you're allowed to do that. It's a concentration camp. It's basically it's like an internment camp. It's like a prison. And the reason why it's being allowed is because you don't do anything about it. You don't do anything to upset the status quo, the system. So it's going to keep continuing because everybody doesn't want to rock the boat because that boat is giving you money and the money is your favorite thing. So therefore, that is how they control you because everybody is obedient and listens. Do this, but don't do that. You're allowed to go here, but you're not allowed to go there. You're prohibited from you're prohibited from ever entering that area, but over here is where you can come, but only from a certain amount of time. But after that time, you're not allowed over here, then you got to go back over there for a certain amount of time. Then you got to go over there. And people just follow. I remember one time about 4 years ago when that whole scam was going on. You remember the scam? It was plastered all over CNN and, how this monster was going to kill us all. I'm not going to get into it because the AI algorithms will shut me down. But anyway, I remember one time they actually had in the local grocery store people positioned like workers were positioned. Okay, are you cash or credit? Okay, go down aisle 4, checkout counter 13. Do you want self checkout? Okay, go to self checkout. So that went on for a while because and the tape in the aisles, you were supposed to just one aisle was supposed to go one way and then you're supposed to go back around the other way like lanes in a road. It was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. And the signs on the ground saying what the distance was allowed, 6 feet and all that. Where did all that go, by the way? Didn't they tell us that was going to be around for thousands? That was never going to go away. All of a sudden, that just you don't hear about it anymore. It just magically disappeared. Anybody questioning any of this? But anyway, in the grocery store, and they have the workers. Okay, I'll cash register 14, register 7, register 9, self checkout. Go ahead. That went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then finally, when that died out, the people just got so used to it. One day I came into the same grocery store and I see this like 9 or 10 people standing on a line. And I just asked one of the ladies, I said, what are you standing here for? She goes, oh, I don't know. Everybody else is. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I said to everybody, they're not doing that anymore. You can go on any register you want. And they just stared at me like I had 9 heads because people cannot think for themselves. That's the reason why your life is that don't do this, you can do that. And because it's what you're willing to tolerate, because you're sacrificing your freedom so you can get the creature comforts of your internet and your money and your app to deliver food to your doorstep. And that's how they intend on taking this country out from the inside out by crippling the economy and destroying the constitutional rights, amendments, your civil liberties, your inalienable rights, taking away everything that those folks fought for, the civil rights leaders and all of those people involved that gave their lives so for equal rights, equal amendments, equal opportunities, just goes right out the window. Because you're just willing to say, okay, you could take away my rights as long as you don't take away my TikTok. That's basically what it is. And it's really sad. You have to just get to a point where you're not going to be treated like some sort of slave or puppet. That's what people need to do. They need to just rise up and wise up and wake up and realize that you're being treated like this. But since they're just willing to be, treated like second-hand subhuman pieces of garbage by this system, that's exactly what's going to continue until people say they've had enough. But until that time, it's going to be just a whole life full of do this, but don't do that. You're not allowed to do this. Go here, but come here. Go over there at a certain time, but you got to come back at a certain time. And that's how it has been. School is no different than prison, which is no different than your job. The only difference with prison is you're not allowed out when you want to go. With school and your job, if you leave, they'll fire you. So I remember when I was a kid, when I was going to school, it felt like a life sentence. Because you were taking a summer vacation from school. Weekends were a break from school. the holidays were a break from school, but life was school and school is life when you were a kid. And it was a life sentence because it was no fun going there. If you didn't go, your parents would be arrested and they made you do these things. The same thing with your job. It's the same paradigm. So, hopefully this whole situation switches over because I know it will, that this old system has to go. It's unacceptable to tell a grown adult when to do this and when to do that. That's why people become entrepreneurs and self-employed, because they don't have to be subjected to being treated like a slave or some sort of like parasite or prisoner or a puppet. Nobody wants to be told what to do when they're in their 30s and their 40s. You went through all that in school with your teachers, telling you what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say, what you're not allowed to say, how to act and how to behave, how to conduct yourself, what is proper etiquette and protocol and socially acceptable, what is inappropriate, what is unallowable, what is permissible, what is impermissible. They made up all those rules to govern your unlimited abilities and to cordon off your imagination and your individuality and your personality, your character, and the very essence of who and what you are. None of this exists in the universe. It's just here on this earth because it's just control. This is what you have to realize, because these are the little segments that they chip away that cause you to not be yourself, to be unrecognizable when you see that person in the mirror, a follower, a listener, a puppet, a slave, an emulation, a copy, a facsimile of something that's not genuine anymore. You have to be genuine and you have to be divine in nature and supernatural and spiritual and metaphysical, while you're here, because if you lose sense of yourself and you lose sight of the objective, then you get lost in the moment and then you're unrecognizable. This is just what I've come to with my conclusions, because I've seen this for very many decades. I'm approaching almost the 6th decade of my life. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And, it's horrible what I'm seeing these days. But that isn't to say that it can't be turned around, because it can and it will. But it needs to be brought to the attention of the individuals that are being subjected to being treated as if they're prisoners, because in a sense you are. When you're in school, you're a prisoner. You can't leave, especially when you're a kid. They won't let you leave. They'll call your parents. You get a delinquency card. You'll be listed as a truant, and the truant officer will come and throw you into juvenile detention. You see how it's cleverly orchestrated, just like a prison. Even the earth. I'll give you a heads up before I end the video. This is the truth. How many people, they have what they refer to as life after death experiences, near-death experiences, they survive beyond the back, these types of things, where they actually leave the body, they leave the earth, and they confront Jesus. And they tell Jesus, I'm not going back to that hell you sent me to. And Jesus says, you have no choice. You're going back. It's not your time. So that's it. You're going back. And people were very irate with Jesus, actually had arguments with Jesus. And Jesus became very curt with them, very abrupt, and very aggressive. I know you guys think that Jesus is full of love, light, and everything, but Jesus also has the same energies that we all carry, because we're all coming from the same source of all creation, which is darkness and evil. And Jesus can get very aggressive. And Jesus has darkness in him too, like we all do. I think you need to really analyze the reality of the situation. That's where you get your strength from. You get your strength from both the light and the dark, because you're a balance of both. But nonetheless, that's reality, not fictitious biblical Jesus. That character doesn't exist. That's Swedish Jesus, but the real Jesus was black when he walked the earth. But nonetheless, these people pass away, and they're telling Jesus, I'm not going to go back to the earth. I'm not returning to that body, that hellhole you just sent me to. I'm not going back. And they were not, let me say this word again to you, they were not given a choice. They were told they're going back, that there is no choice. That does not sound like a school to me, my friends. That sounds more like a prison. So do with that what you will. Those are the facts. You could look them up online. There's a lot of accounts of people confronting Jesus and saying, I don't want to go back there. But they were forced back into the body. Some people, they're given a choice. Why, I don't know. But others are not. They're forced to go back. They're saying to these people, it's not your time. You have to go back. And they're like, I don't want to. You don't place me back in there. I'm not going back in the body. It's too much pain. I don't want to go back to that prison on earth. And they're not given a choice. The same holds true with souls that are in heaven. When they don't want to be returned to the earth, the soul is put to sleep and it awakens in the womb as a fetus. And they're reincarnated and they pass through and they have to go through this life all over again. That's also a fact. And that's against their will. So why this is, I don't know. But I do know that there's some aspects of a prison-esque type paradigm going on there. And that's very sketchy, very dicey at best. But again, like I say before I end the video, this earth is not what you think it is. It isn't, hey, you got a house and you got the lights on, the heat going, you got your electronics and all your components and devices and appliances, all modern age stuff, and you can just chill out in your room, play video games and order food and it'll just come to your doorstep. That's not life. That is the initial steps of the extinction of humanity, whether you realize it or not. They're going to blink you out of existence. First you're obsolete and then you're extinct. That's what you're slated for. So I know you think these are technological advancements and cutting edge technology and the advent of technological, wonders and marvels. Well, you're addicted to the technology and that's what controls you. And that was done by design. So it isn't to your benefit that you allow these things to become your master. Trust me, it's not. And it isn't the way that the universe intended this to be. But what I'm trying to say is that, you can't be addicted to something that is, mechanical in nature. Because any addiction by its very nature is unhealthy. So, just try to break away from these things and do the best you can to be yourself and not listen to the do's and don'ts. It's like music theory. They tell you what to do, what not to do. They basically inhibit your growth. And it's that invisible teacher in your head slapping you on the wrist telling you what you can do and what you cannot do. And that's an impediment. So now you're so afraid because there's consequences if you don't listen. And that's how they control you, with fear. But anyway, this is going to be my last video on these types of topics also. I'm going to switch and flip up real quick. So, I'll be back with just completely different videos. And I'll keep them to much shorter lengths because I know the long ones might be a little too much for people to digest. But nonetheless, I just speak the way it is. I'm not like, okay, guys, everybody's just so super special. Nobody's ever had any problems. You're all super great. You're just amazing people. You've never done anything wrong. Everybody gets a participation trophy for just having a pulse. And don't worry, we won't speak about the truth because we know you can't handle it. I mean, come on, that's just not where I come from. Euphemistic conditioning, soft language, that's no bueno. Then how are you supposed to get somebody to be an actual person if you're telling them a bunch of garbage that's just pacifying them and coddling them? What kind of a world do you think they're creating with these emasculated men who don't even have a set of cojones on them to fight? And they're telling you all of the soft stuff that, don't worry about it. You're so special and wonderful. And there's nothing you've ever done wrong in your life. You're a perfect person. And everybody's butt hurt when somebody actually speaks the truth to your face. Because if the truth hurts, you're living a big fat lie, man. And that's what you're living in this system. It's just one lie after the other. That's what the premise of my channel is, to get you to realize that, because you cannot manifest from a place of prevarication, because then you'll only manifest more of the same of that energy. See, energy's like this, right? It's just energy. There's no intrinsic value or signature assigned to it. You assign the value of the energy. So when you take healing plus energy, it becomes healing energy, right? When you put awareness with energy, it becomes awareness energy. When you put creative potential, it becomes creative potential energy, and you send that out. But it can also have the dark side too. When you want with destructive force energy, boom, things start to become decimated. Hate energy, you send that out, Anger energy, that gets cast out. Doubt, uncertainty, you click that to the energy, off it goes, and you manifest something of a low vibrational nature that hurts you and everyone else around you. So, you don't want to impede that progress by being told what to do, especially at such an age of development that you are so far beyond that. Because if you need to be told what to do, that means you can't think for yourself. And that means that you're not going to manifest properly. Because that means you've surrendered your energy to an external source that's going to do all your thinking for you. And it isn't going to stop there at the thinking portion of your journey. It's going to continue to every aspect and area of the multifaceted collective element that you are. You're not just one or two things, you're a multitude of things. And if you're allowing an external source to control all those things, then you're not in control of anything. Then you're under something's control. You're not in control of your own reality, journey, or your life. And that is not a place to be. Trust me, not at all.